I'm giving you my picks for what to eat inside of Disney's California Adventure. This is going to range from quick snacks to some popular spots for lunch and dinner. Most of what I have here is specific to the Disney California Adventure Park, but I'm going to throw in a couple of Disneyland Park items as can't miss here as well. Kicking off my rundown, let's talk about some obvious snacks you'll need to look out for. And the first shop we're going to talk about is a place that you'll encounter as you enter the California Adventure Park. Trolley Treat Shop. The shop is filled with some masterfully assembled chocolate and sweet treats. Lots of cookies, Rice Krispie treats with decorations on them, cake pops, and some caramel apples that are decorated nicely, but I think somewhere near $15, so hard pass on those. During my visit, the inner child in me needed to try a giant Mickey cookie, and as far as cookies go, the taste was kind of average, but it was a fairly good deal for the size of the snack based on the price. As far as what to get here though, I got tipped off that the thing that you really need to try here is churro toffee, and that rang in at $8. It's a fairly dense hunk of toffee coated in white chocolate, and that's actually caked with a thick coating of cinnamon sugar. At first it seems like this isn't going to be worth it, but once you bite into it and then you realize that this is not the type of snack that one person can finish all on their own, at least in one go, you realize it's a pretty decent value. The only thing I'll say is, even though there's a lot going on between toffee, white chocolate, cinnamon, sugar, the flavors kind of get repetitive after a while, so make sure you're sharing it or spreading it out over the day. One thing that I wouldn't share though is a churro. And as far as Disney goes, Disneyland, California Adventure, there's plenty of stands doing churros in the parks. I'm partial to the tiny stand that is just to the left of the Hollywood Studios sign as you're entering the park. They also do specialty churros, and those usually come drizzled and caked with other stuff, so they'll serve it on a plate with a fork and a knife. But the better way to do this is plain, where they wrap the full churro in some paper for you so you can walk and eat. Honestly, it's a better value that way too. Deeper in the park, in Pixar Pier, there's a stand based on Incredibles 2 called Jack Jack Num Nums. They're serving up these giant, warm, gooey cookies, as well as a gluten-free jam-filled cookie, which I'm sorry if you're gluten-free, but it just doesn't look as good as the warm, gooey cookie. I mean, look at all the melty chocolate chunks and chips. After you order, you notice that they flop these things onto a heated conveyor belt, so I'm not gonna act like you're getting some masterfully chef-created, freshly baked thing, but I will say it's kind of the next best thing walking through an amusement park. One of these cookies with a refreshing cold water or even milk could actually be lunch. You do you. Speaking of lunch, here's a fun spot to check out in the park. Carth Circle Lounge. But I'll give you a heads up right now, all of the feedback I'm going to give is not all positive, so let's talk about it. Carth Circle Lounge does its best to capture kind of the spirit of the 1920s and 1930s vibe of Carth Circle Theater, which was a movie theater in Hollywood's golden age. The theater opened in 1926 and famously premiered Walt Disney's first feature-length film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The theater itself was demolished in 1969. The homage within Disney's California Adventure Park is a restaurant offering a seasonal menu of Mediterranean California light fare. The physical menu itself, I would say, qualifies more as modern, easy to read, and the items listed have a lot of what I would call descriptive fluff. The menu is seasonal, so it is likely that what we had here is not going to be available when you go. My biggest complaint about this menu is the size of the portions based on the prices, but it's Disney park dining, so they gotcha, there's nowhere else to go. The drink menu is actually aesthetically pleasing with kind of that Great Gatsby vibe, but at $20 a cocktail, these guys are freaking out of their mind. And if you're finding this helpful, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and consider subscribing for even more food breakdowns. We started with an appetizer of Moroccan roasted meatballs with pomegranate relish and tzatziki sauce. The meatballs were lightly packed but gently cooked. The flavor of the pomegranate was actually really nice with this, but I can't say I want that texture with meatballs ever again. And the tzatziki on top really helped to bring a nice coolness to it, which was super nice. I also love that fresh mint accent on top. Overall, this was a nice little dish to start with. The entree I picked, and I gotta go to the notes here, North African roasted organic chicken breast with turmeric rice and harissa. It was a deceptively simple dish, and honestly, I didn't think it was even close to worth the $30 price tag. It was basically like a sensible portion of lean protein, nicely seasoned and cooked, served atop about half a cup of yellow rice, and the plate had a scant coat of harissa across about 31% of it. Taken together, it was very tasty, but this is not the type of thing that you want to order when you're out on vacation. But considering this is a vacation situation in California, and that California locals actually do go to the parks as well, what it is kind of makes sense for the demographic. This is what I would classify as a very California meal. Maybe missing a vegetable, but overall just a very kind of sensible portion, decent tasting food, nothing too heavy. And while I'm on a rant, while you're eating inside the Carth Circle Lounge, the seating situation has you at these normal sized chairs with essentially a coffee table. Your knees are actually food level, which is a little awkward, and there's also not a ton of room to spread out. But if that's too annoying for you, there's also an alfresco area outside if it's not too hot. Of course, I'm being extra critical here, and overall they do a decent job, and because of that, you know we had to do dessert. For the kid, Hazelnut Crunch Mickey Pop, which was vanilla ice cream rolled in white chocolate with chunked hazelnuts and Mickey ears for decoration. Noah said it reminded him of Ferrero Rocher. More pressing for us though was the caramel popcorn ice cream sundae with chocolate sauce and vanilla chantilly, basically a fancy word for whipped cream. This was really good, and kudos on them for putting some fudge at the bottom of the glass. Now, a lot of people do the multi-park pass and want to experience Disneyland Park as well, so here are 3 picks for some quick snacks there. Number 1, of course you gotta get some fresh Dole Whip from the Enchanted Tiki Room. Actually, I highly recommend the Dole Whip Float, which takes that nice creamy pineapple soft serve and serves it up with pineapple juice. Really sweet, but also really refreshing. This spot is really popular, so you might want to order ahead on your phone. Second, over at Galaxy's Edge Star Wars Land, you gotta make a stop for either the blue or the green milk. I couldn't tell you what the difference is between them, but I was a pretty big fan of the blue milk. I got mine with some silly sour mango jellies, and it was topped with a sour shimmery mango gel. This is also really refreshing, but that sour tang makes the whole experience a little bit more interesting. And third, it's time for a weird one. As you walk through these parks, and now I'm talking about both Disneyland and California Adventure, you're gonna see people walking around, and they're apparently eating pickles with juice out of a plastic bag. Your eyes aren't deceiving you, that's a thing in the parks. You'll find these at random shops and stands around the parks. As far as value, it's a few bucks, and I will admit it's actually a pretty good pickle. We dedicated 2 days to Disney California Adventure, and aside from Carth Circle Lounge, the other big meal we had in the park was at Pym Test Kitchen. That's located in the Avengers campus. We tried just about everything from the 1-pound quantum pretzel, the not so little chicken sandwich which has this really silly little bun, and my personal favorite, the Choco Smash candy bar, which may actually have been my favorite bite in the entire Disneyland adventure. Click into the video on your screen right now to see even more about this crazy meal.